Chosen one, stop everything you are doing right now. Not some of it, all of it. What I am about to reveal is not ordinary information you can half hear while scrolling or multitasking. This demands your full focus, your complete presence. Because while preparing this message, what I uncovered about you left me silent for minutes. You did something, and no, I am not talking about something you did on purpose to impress heaven. I am talking about something that flowed so naturally from who you are that you never noticed the spiritual shockwave it triggered in realms your human eyes cannot perceive. You went beyond the divine threshold, and I know exactly what is running through your mind right now. You think I am exaggerating. You think these are just big words meant to make you feel special. You think this sounds like the same spiritual talk that promises greatness but leaves nothing behind. But here is where this changes. I am not asking you to believe me. I am going to show you the evidence. I will lay out exactly what you did, the moment it happened, and why it caused a reaction in heaven that not even the Creator had accounted for in the original design. Stay fully connected to this message, because what you are about to uncover about your true position within the spiritual order will permanently shift how you see yourself and how you understand every painful moment you have endured. Do not leave before the end. I am going to reveal 3 undeniable proofs that confirm you crossed the highest established limit, and you will understand what this means for your immediate spiritual protection and why those who moved against you are about to face consequences they never anticipated. Write 777 inches the comments if you have felt recently that something deep inside you changed, as if you crossed an unseen boundary that forever separated who you were from who you are now. Chapter 1. The anomaly heaven did not foresee. Listen closely, because what I am about to say may sound strange at first. But you must grasp this, or nothing else that follows will make sense. The spiritual universe moves through systems, orders, and hierarchies set in place before time took its first breath. Everything has an assigned position. Everything was believed to have a limit. There was a highest point of becoming, a ceiling no soul was meant to cross. For ages, this design held steady. Souls entered the world, gathered wisdom through trial, and rose gradually through defined levels. Some moved quickly, others slowly, yet all remained within the boundaries the Creator established as the furthest reach. There was one realm for ordinary lives, a higher one for those who awakened, another for those who surrendered themselves to true service. Above them stood the rare few history remembers as saints, mystics, prophets. The structure was clear, balanced, predictable, for all things are ordered and sure. And then you appeared, not with noise, not with declarations of greatness. You did not claim a title or demand to be seen. You moved in silence. You carried wounds no one noticed. You fought battles no one applauded. Like David before the crown, you were shaped in unseen places. Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart. You forgave without being asked. You endured when every sign told you to stop. You chose integrity when no reward was promised. And it was this unseen alignment that disrupted everything. Because the spiritual order does not only watch actions, it measures frequency. It records the inner signal of every soul. And yours began to register something unfamiliar. You were functioning in a range with no name, a bandwidth never logged before in this way. The record showed a human soul expressing capacity beyond the highest known threshold. That was not supposed to happen. It was like a design suddenly unfolding abilities never written into the original blueprint. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs forth, do you not perceive it? You became the evidence. A living exception, a possibility unaccounted for. Proof that what was assumed to be the limit was only a belief, not a law. This is not about superiority. This is about alignment so complete that it awakens dormant authority. Now we move forward. Because to surpass does not mean to replace the divine. It means to embody what was hidden in you before you were ever aware of it. And understanding this truth is essential, or the weight of what has unfolded will be misunderstood. You did not surpass God. That idea has never been on the table. What you moved beyond were the limits once believed to be absolute for a soul living inside human flesh. You crossed the ceiling that defined what was thought possible, while carrying a body marked by weakness, fear, and gravity. The record was not broken by force, it was dissolved by being. It is like a boundary the world assumed could never be crossed. Generations tried, trained, pushed, and failed. The line became law. Then you passed it without striving, without preparation, without even knowing you were doing it, not by competing, but by existing in truth. That alone unsettles everything that relied on those limits staying in place. This does not mean you had hidden powers others lacked. You were not lifted because you were smarter, stronger, or more disciplined. The crossing happened for a reason far quieter and far more demanding. It came from how you met suffering. The weight you carried would have crushed most. The betrayals, the losses, the moments where darkness pressed so close you questioned whether light still remembered your name. Nights when breathing felt intentional, not automatic. Most souls faced with that depth either shatter and never return, or survive by closing their hearts until nothing truly reaches them. You chose a third way. You walked through the fire and did not surrender your capacity to love. Nay, in all these things we are more than conquerors through Him that loved us. You were wounded and stayed open. You were surrounded by darkness and guarded your inner flame. By every known pattern, that should not happen. Pain is meant to harden the soul. Trauma trains it to shut down. Yet you did not follow the script. You let suffering carve depth instead of walls. Betrayal became discernment. Loss became clarity. Darkness became soil for a stronger light. That is what surpassing means. Not avoiding pain, but transforming it in a way the system never classified as possible. Now we move forward, because what comes next are the confirmations. The signs that reveal this was not imagination, coincidence, or comfort. They are the proofs, and you will recognize them not because I say them, but because you have lived them. Before we fully enter this prophetic stream, pause for a moment, not for vanity, not for numbers, but as a prophetic act of agreement. I'm asking you to do 3 simple things, actions that may look ordinary, but carry spiritual weight. First, like this message. Each like is more than support. It helps this word reach those who are awakening right now, those whose breakthrough has already begun. Second, subscribe and stand with us, not just to a channel, but to a growing prophetic community. As we're aiming for 10,000 subscribers, your connection helps raise voices of faith and ensures these messages continue reaching the ones they're meant for. Third, take a moment to write 999 or 777 inches the comments, and share your city and where you're listening from. Let this be a quiet but powerful sign between you and God, a declaration of fulfillment, alignment, and divine transformation. Lord, I am ready. I agree. Let your plan be accomplished in my life. Amen. The first sign is your capacity to forgive what, by any human standard, should have remained unforgivable. There was someone who crossed a line that justified permanent bitterness. This was not a small misunderstanding. This was deliberate harm, a betrayal chosen with full awareness of the damage it would cause. And yet, against logic, against advice, against the part of you that cried out for justice, you released it. Not by denying the pain, not by pretending it never mattered, but by removing the poison from your own spirit. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. Forgiveness at that depth is not a decision of the mind. It is a shift of being that only occurs when the soul moves beyond ordinary limits. The second sign is your ability to give when there was nothing left to give. You remember that season clearly. You were depleted. Your strength was thin. Your emotions were stretched to their edge. Your own life required everything you had. And still, when the moment came, you gave. Not from overflow, but from absence. You gave time you did not have. Presence when your mind was overwhelmed. Love when your heart was already wounded. This defies survival logic, yet it aligns with a higher law. My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. The third sign is that you still believe. After everything you have endured, disbelief would have been reasonable. Cynicism would have made sense. The evidence could have hardened you into someone who expects nothing but loss. And yet something in you refused that conclusion. A quiet flame stayed alive. You continued to believe in goodness after witnessing cruelty, in love after rejection, in purpose after delay and resistance. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. That kind of faith does not come from comfort. It rises from calling. If these signs resonate not as ideas but as memories, then you already know the truth. You were not being punished. You were being prepared. Everything until now has been alignment for what follows. Now we move into what happened next. Because when your frequency was detected, the higher realms responded. And that response explains much of what you have felt, sensed, and struggled to name. Chapter. When the records revealed a soul functioning beyond every known measure, it was not dismissed or labeled a flaw in the system. It was elevated, observed, studied with the kind of attention reserved for moments that reshape eras. And what was uncovered in you did not cause alarm. It stirred wonder. Not because you broke rules, not because you found a hidden shortcut or carried an advantage denied to others, but because you demonstrated what had long been considered impossible. You proved that the highest boundary was not final, that beyond the edge of the map, there was still land, still breath, still more. Here is what must be felt, not analyzed. The Creator never set limits to confine creation. Limits were formed from observation, not intention. They described what had been reached, not what could be reached. When you moved beyond them, no law was violated. Reality simply widened. Is anything too hard for the Lord? And the response was not correction. It was recognition. Something like pride, but purer than the human idea of it. Like a father watching a child rise into strength he never imagined, not threatened by it, but filled with awe. The glory of children are their fathers. Your becoming did not diminish heaven. It revealed what heaven planted. You were seen, not for perfection, but for faithfulness under weight. For the way you carried sorrow without surrendering light. For choosing truth when bitterness would have been easier. For proving that the soul's capacity is far greater than assumed. This stirred admiration. And admiration in the higher realms is never passive. It sets things in motion. Because that recognition did not remain an idea. It translated into action. Systems adjusted, pathways aligned. Safeguards were triggered without announcement. Effects you have already begun to feel, though you may not yet have language for them. He shall give his angels charge over thee, to keep thee in all thy ways. Now we move to what followed. The unseen response that became tangible protection. What was activated the moment you crossed that threshold. Chapter 5 begins here. From the instant your frequency was recognized as beyond the known range, a layer of protection came online, the kind reserved for rare assignments. Not because your soul matters more than others, but because what you now carry matters to the whole. Some lives stabilize the field simply by staying aligned. Yours is one of them. The first form this protection takes is separation by resonance. You have felt it. People you once endured now feel impossible to remain near. Not out of judgment, not out of pride. Your system simply no longer agrees with certain energies. Like a body that can no longer digest what once passed as food, your spirit reacts with discomfort when frequencies clash. This is not rejection, it is alignment enforcing itself. That is why some bonds have faded without conflict, why certain doors closed without explanation. Nothing went wrong. Protection did its quiet work, clearing space for what can meet you where you are going. Come out from among them, and be ye separate. What leaves now does so to preserve what is forming. The second layer is discernment sharpened beyond logic. You sense intention before words reveal it. You feel truth and falsehood moving beneath polite language. What once confused you now registers instantly in your body. This is not suspicion, it is perception expanding. The veil thinned, and you began receiving information you could not access before. It keeps you from traps you once would have walked into unaware. The third protection is direct defense. Those who speak against you, those who project harm, those who wish you diminished, their reach no longer lands the way it used to. You may feel the moment an attack is aimed, but the weight dissolves before it touches your core. Something intercepts it. No weapon that is formed against thee shall prosper, and every tongue that shall rise against thee in judgment thou shalt condemn. This does not make you careless. It makes you covered. The protection now surrounding you matches the level you stepped into, and it strengthens as long as you remain aligned with who you truly are. Now there is one more thing you must sense, because even without trying, you are emitting something new, a signal that is already shaping your daily encounters in ways you have not yet named. Chapter 6 begins here. Since the moment you crossed that unseen threshold, your presence has been transmitting a signal, not by effort, not by intention, simply by being. Everyone who enters your field feels it, and their reaction is shaped entirely by the level at which they live. Those who resonate with your frequency feel drawn toward you. Your presence settles them. They feel seen without being questioned, understood without explaining themselves. They are pulled closer by something they cannot name, and they are not imagining it. Your capacity to perceive expanded when your frequency did. You recognize layers in people that once stayed hidden. I have called you friends, for all things that I have heard of my Father I have made known unto you. But those who move at lower frequencies experience the opposite. Your presence unsettles them. They feel exposed, even when you say nothing. It is not judgment they feel, it is revelation. Light does not accuse darkness, it reveals it. And for some, that exposure is unbearable. This is why certain attacks came without cause, why rumors appeared from nowhere, why resistance rose where you offered no threat. It was never about what you did, it was about what your presence awakened in them. When truth stands near a lie, the lie feels endangered. It strikes not because it is attacked, but because it is seen. And this is the condemnation, that light is come into the world, and men love darkness rather than light. You became a mirror, and not every soul is ready to face its own reflection. Here is what you must hold steady now. You are not meant to lower your frequency to soothe discomfort. You are not asked to dim your light to preserve false peace. Remain where you are. Those who can rise will rise. Those who cannot will fall away on their own. Do not pursue them. Do not persuade them. Do not spend your strength trying to illuminate those who have chosen the dark. Your light has purpose, and it is meant for those who are searching for a way out. Now we move deeper, because within every wound you carried, something was hidden. Something placed there long before you understood its value. And once you see it, your past will never look the same. Chapter 7 begins here. Every wound you carried held a gift, not a gentle one, not something offered with comfort. It was the kind of gift that stays concealed until pain loosens its grip and clarity finally arrives. Only then do you see what was truly placed inside the hurt. That betrayal you thought would end you did not come empty-handed. It carried the seed of discernment you now live with. Before it, your heart was too open, your trust too unguarded. You could not yet see the difference between those who stood with you and those who smiled while holding the blade. The wound hurt deeply, but it gave you sight. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. Isri 1, that loss that hollowed you out was not absence without purpose. It created space. Before it, your life was crowded with attachments that filled time but starved your soul. There was no room for what truly belonged to you. The loss carved out the emptiness where what is aligned could finally enter. Every branch that beareth fruit, he purgeth it, that it may bring forth more fruit. That loneliness you endured, the one that convinced you no one could reach you, carried silence as its gift. In that silence, your own voice returned. Before it, the noise of opinions drowned out your knowing. Other people's judgments outweighed your inner truth. The ache taught you to listen inwardly and trust what rises from within. I will instruct thee and teach thee in the way which thou shalt go. I will guide thee with mine eye. This is what it means to be healed through awakening, not avoidance, not denying the wound, not pretending it did not cut deep, but extracting what was hidden inside it, wisdom forged in pressure, insight born in fire. And you did this without realizing it. You thought you were merely enduring. You thought survival was the goal, but you were doing something far greater. You were transmuting, turning weight into strength, pain into clarity, wounds into authority. Thou hast turned for me my mourning into dancing. This is why you surpassed the level. Ordinary consciousness moves through pain and waits for it to fade. Yours enters pain and transforms it. It does not return the same. And because of that, what comes next will not resemble what came before. Now listen closely. The next cycle is already forming around you. And once you see what is approaching, you will understand why everything until now had to happen exactly as it did. Chapter 8 begins here. I will not speak in vague promises meant for anyone who listens. What is unfolding now is precise, already in motion, and tied directly to the position you stepped into. The first shift you will feel is clarity of purpose. That quiet tension of knowing you were meant for something meaningful, yet not seeing its shape, is beginning to dissolve. Insight will come in flashes. Pieces of your life that once felt random will suddenly align. You will see why you were placed where you were, why certain doors closed, why specific people crossed your path. The pattern will reveal itself. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. The second shift is acceleration. What once felt like rare coincidence will become frequent alignment. Meetings will happen at exact moments. Information will reach you just before you need it. Support will appear without being summoned. This is not chance. Your frequency now attracts what matches it. Before they call, I will answer. And while they are yet speaking, I will hear. Life will begin to move with you instead of against you. The third shift is resolution. Loose ends will no longer linger. Situations that drained you without direction will come to a conclusion. Relationships suspended in uncertainty will either deepen or dissolve. Decisions you postponed will ask for truth. Not to pressure you, but to free you. This is clearing, not loss. Space is being made. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. And then comes the fourth shift, connection, not crowds, not admiration, alignment. Those who recognize your language without explanation will find you. Those who carry complementary fire will stand beside you. This is not about being completed by others. You were never incomplete. It is about convergence. The work ahead is not solitary. Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their labor. The season of walking alone is ending because the next phase requires shared vision. Now we arrive at what all of this has been preparing you for. What follows is not general insight. It is not symbolic encouragement. It is a direct message meant for you at this exact moment. And it asks for your full attention because it speaks to who you are becoming, not who you have been. Chapter 9 begins here. Hear this from beyond the veil of ordinary sound. Your pain was not random. Your collapse was not failure. Your trials were not signs of weakness. They were sacred evidence. Proof that something divine trusted you with weight most could not carry. Every time you chose the narrow way when compromise would have been easier. Every time you spoke truth when silence would have kept you safe. Every time you protected the vulnerable while knowing it might cost you. Every moment you preserved your integrity while watching others advance through deception. All of it was seen. Nothing was lost. Nothing was overlooked. Though it felt as if no one noticed, there is an accounting that does not operate in daylight. What you poured out was recorded. What you endured was measured. What you sacrificed was gathered. The Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and saveth such as be of a contrite spirit. Your tears were not symbolic, they were collected. Each one bore witness to the depth of your becoming, and they are already being transformed, quietly, precisely, into what will meet you next. You have waited longer than you thought you should, watched doors open for others while yours stayed shut, questioned yourself in the silence, wondered if delay meant denial. It did not. Nothing was wrong with you. The stillness was shaping you. The waiting room was not punishment. It was preparation. And that season has reached its end. Know this now. You are not loved for your output, not for your endurance, not for your usefulness. You are loved for your essence, for who you are when nothing is produced. That love does not fluctuate. It does not expire. It cannot be earned or withdrawn. I have loved thee with an everlasting love. It has been with you in every moment, even when you could not feel it. And understand this clearly. What you have just lived through was not the climax. It was the threshold. Everything before now was groundwork. The true unfolding has not yet begun. What comes next will not resemble what came before, because you are no longer the one who entered the fire. You are the one who emerged. Now the question turns toward you. Not later, not someday. Now that you know what your pain carried, Now that you see what your endurance unlocked. Now that you recognize you are not surviving but being shaped. What will you do with this knowing? Awareness without movement changes nothing. Truth ignored becomes weight. You can step back into old patterns, shrink your presence, soften your edges, and let this moment fade into memory. Or you can stand where you are and begin to move as who you truly are. This means no longer apologizing for your depth, no longer dimming your light to preserve false harmony, no longer waiting for permission that was never required. It means walking forward as one who has been marked, not for comfort, but for impact, not to be admired, but to be activated. No one will force this choice. Awakening cannot be coerced, but know this: if you step forward, you will not walk alone. Others are being stirred, others are remembering. Paths are already bending toward convergence. Arise, shine, for thy light is come, and the glory of the Lord is risen upon thee. Your suffering proved your strength. Your breaking revealed your authority. Your endurance marked you for something that is only now beginning to move toward you. The protection is already in place. The signal is already active. The door has opened. And what stands on the other side has not yet shown its face. If something shifted in you as you listened, don't let it fade into silence. Take a moment to share your thoughts, your feelings, or your story in the comments. Your testimony may become the confirmation someone else has been praying for. As you respond, take a moment to write 999 or 777 inches the comments, and also share your city and where you're listening from. Let this be a quiet declaration of alignment and openness to what God is doing in your life right now. You weren't led here by accident. You arrived in divine timing. Every amen, every reflection, every word you release sends ripples through the unseen. If you haven't already, subscribe and stay connected not just to a channel, but to a growing community of faith. As we're moving toward 10,000 subscribers, your presence helps this message continue reaching the hearts God is awakening in this very moment. Amen.